everything. I've been around everything, and I've seen what it's like to be amongst different walks of life. And my story, can I take this off?
Yeah, cool.
Okay. My story starts with my parents. They really rooted me in faith, and it's a blessing to have met God at an early age because they instilled it in me since I was young. I was born into a Christian home. My parents were Christian when I was born, so I was always taught the right way. And what I really love about my relationship with my parents is they never forced anything on me. Even to this day, even this baptism, even giving my life to Christ, they never told me to do it. They taught me the right way. They shared the gospel with me. They influenced me, but they always made it up to me to make a decision. And same, actually, like I could relate it to sports. Like with basketball, they didn't just put a basketball in my hand. When I was little, I tried lacrosse, gymnastics, swimming, baseball, football, American football, and everything in between. And so I was blessed to have had the opportunity to find God organically, even though I was taught and instilled by my parents. So around the age of, I think 10 or 11 years old, I knowingly, by my own decision, gave my life to Christ. So first and foremost, these are my parents right here. So the time zone is, it's whatever time it is right now. I think it's 2 a.m. or something over there. So thank you guys for staying up. Finding Christ is different when you grow up with it. And some of you know this. Everyone has a different testimony. But when you know Christ, it's different because there's that part of you where you go through the motions, you know? Like, it's all you know. And that's a real struggle because I had to find out. I would say I know God and I love God. And my heart is to obey Him. But when I became like a teenager, I had to fall off. There was that point, I hate to be literal, but there was like a point in like 6th grade where I was like, why, I know this is what we're taught and this is the word and the word is true, but why can't I steal, why can't I lie, why can't I, maybe I should try these things to find satisfaction out of it. And I did, so I had to fall off and quickly I found out why I needed God and why my parents influenced me and why I need God is because I'm nothing without Him. And so, as I got older, I thought my walk with God, and I realized, okay, I need God. I really do need God. But I thought that faith was all about just my personal connection with God. So I had no community. I just thought it was about my prayer time, my devotional time. And that was it. And that was kind of more of my personality growing up. I really thought it was just about me and God. But every one of you standing here is a result of the community I built and realizing that I can't do this by myself and that I needed people around me to lift me up. I was listening to a preaching the other day saying that, if you want to be an alcoholic, you surround yourself with alcoholics. If you want to be a drug dealer, you surround yourself with people that sell drugs. If you want to be wise, you surround yourself with people that are rich in wisdom. And I'm blessed that all of you in this circle are here. You're all my brothers and sisters in Christ. Most of you here are family. Actually, I don't think a single person here is actually related to me. But I'm just so happy to say that you guys are even closer to me than some of my literal blood family. And all of you, like I said at the beginning, you all played a major role. I learned that you can witness to others just by being who you are in Christ and not even talking to me. I learned that, and I wish my pastor from the U.S. was here. His name is Henry. He was the first one that taught me. I was in high school, kind of the first community youth service that I became engaged in. I would go to youth service and church every week, and I would hear the word from him. And he started asking me to hang out with him, going to eat, going to basketball games. And we didn't always talk about God. He showed that he was there for me. He traveled to New York and traveled out of state to watch me play and support me. And then I would come back to church, and I would just see that he's there for me. So I really thought that the way you profess your faith is through just the word, and like, you know, for lack of a better term, like shoving the Bible down someone's throat. Like that's how I thought growing up. That's how I needed to explain my faith to people. But I realized that it's not just about the words. That's the base. But it's about your lifestyle, and you live it out. And he was always there for me, and he's just the first example. He was the very first one that taught me community. And you know, since then, I made it over here many years later. I never grew up in the Philippines. Actually, sorry, I was here age 4 or 5 years old, just for a little bit. Doesn't really count because, you know, I'm too young to remember. But I only came out here when a couple schools saw my highlights in the States, and a man by the name of Eric Altamirano, who's supposed to be here today, couldn't make it. Prayers to Tita Mirsa. But you know, teams were recruiting me, and I didn't know anything about the Philippines. And I really didn't. I feel like my plan wasn't clear at that point. I had an offer to play in Colombia and New York, and I had to choose between that and a family that just flew me over. And I didn't know that there was basketball that existed in the Philippines. And the reason, I think I have a strong chest. I think the reason that I made the decision in the leap of faith to leave my family and go across the world is because of the coach that recruited me, Coach Eric Altamirano. He was rooted in his faith. He actually was like the first person, and Alan also, and one of my teammates, Matt Salem. It was just a lot of strings that brought me to victory. But his heart beyond like basketball and anything, what his number one was his faith, and for that to be the leader of my sport, like that's what made me leave everything unplanned and come out here and start a new life. But the story definitely doesn't end there, and I haven't even gotten to the part where I met all of you guys who are so close to me now. But I gave my life to Christ right when I was like 10 or 11 years old. Why am I 24 years old now? Just doing my baptism now. And that goes back to my parents. They never, I think they didn't want to be the family, now they baptized me as a baby before I didn't even, when you're a baby you don't know what you're doing, right? So I give them honor because they allowed me to make this decision on my own. And the other part is, I thought me publicly professing my faith, which is what baptism is all about, is testifying my faith to the world. I thought that it had to be a wedding. I thought it had to be perfect. In my mind, I always knew this was many years ago I wanted to get, for a long time I wanted to do what we're standing here for today and why you guys are here. But I always wanted like a family in the Philippines, a family in the States. I want like my youth pastor who moved to Texas to be there, and I wanted to be perfect. And I realized quickly that I was caught up in the wrong thing. That's not what it's about. It's about coming as you are. It's about being who you are and understanding that I fall short, that we all fall short. And that's why we need and deserve to worship a God as good as the one we glorify. Because I can't do this on my own, and I tried to do it. I grew up Christian, but I was I've been that guy that was half in, half out. I tried to do it on my own. I tried to marginalize God. I tried to follow him, but I'm gonna have my things that I could do on the side. I tried to make my own definition of God. Not to say I didn't live by faith, but I was half in, half out. And through 24 years, I can happily say, like, at this moment, like, I realized through experience that I'm broken. I'm really broken. Like, I really can't do this on my own. And there were, God worth worshiping, and we were already fixed before coming to him. So that's really why I need this. And, I remember I was sitting here right before the pandemic. I think I shared this with you, Pastor. Because like I said, I always pushed off the baptism. Wanted it perfect. remember I had an event. I can't remember clearly, but I either had a dinner somewhere here in BC. I don't think it was church related. I had like a dinner and then an event later or something in between. So I had 2 events or something. And then there was a time in between, because I wasn't driving at the time, that I needed to wait for another dinner time or event time. So I was waiting a couple hours, and I was like so sick of like, there'd be times where I'd be addicted to my phone and always on my phone. So I was just walking around, and this is my church, so I walked in here, and I just found a quiet place. This actually happened naturally. My intention was never to, I'm gonna come to Victory Fort right now just to hang out because I have a couple hours. But I walked in here, and I think this was netted up, and I just sat here. I think by that rock, I just like laid down. Sorry if I was trespassing. But I sat there for 2 hours, no phone. I was just staring at the water, and it meant nothing to me. Like I honestly, it was subconscious. I just came here, like no phone. Like usually, what we do when we have free time, social media, all that stuff. So I think that was God talking to me in advance, and it all makes so much sense now. I'm gonna be honest. Like I was having dinner with the Pumalans the other day. You guys gave me the suggestion, maybe we go out of town, do it in the night. It would be really nice. In my head, I'm like, nice sunset, natural water, and all that stuff. Like that idea of like perfect wedding, like the thing I need to stray away from. But I realized, like, I went back to that memory, and I was like, I think God is just telling me, like, you were always trying to do it perfectly. It's not about you. The purpose is you sharing your faith. Nothing else. It could be this body of water. We could go to the Edsa River or wherever. It's all the same. But what matters is I'm testifying who I am. And, every one of you played a major role in that. I want to thank all my pastors, the pastor of Paulo, the community we go at youth service, Renee and Joash at Green Hills and Alan. I would always, I lived near Green Hills, so that was my first church. And I think Pastor Josh was my first youth leader. And I don't believe in coincidences. But we had, I was assigned, I don't even remember, it was like 2018. I don't remember how we were assigned together in our small group, but he was my leader. And we had our first small group together in real life, like we used to do. And then later I go home, because I just moved into the Philippines. And I meet this guy in the lobby of my condo. He's my neighbor. So how amazing is that for you to meet, my first leader here in the Philippines, and I have the privilege of being neighbors with him. My cousin ended up driving his baby to the hospital. But that story goes for all of you. Everything I do is nothing without Christ. I want that to be my foundation, and I'm here to proclaim that to you guys. Even everything, I try to root myself in faith. Everything I do, in every conversation, everything as simple as eating or just praising God for waking up. Through Puso, I always try to, this guy right here changed my life because he makes me a better Christian. He made it so easy for me to have the foundation running when I left, because he's genuine at heart, because I know where his heart is and it lies with God. And those are the type of people I want to be around. My brothers like Edwin and Val, I grew up with them. They're familiar. These are people I grew up with. You guys are family. Everyone in this circle we're not related by blood, but I all consider you my family, my spiritual family. I don't believe in the term that I have friends. You guys are all my family. I either don't have family or you're strangers. And you guys are all my family, and I really, really do mean that. And you guys were all little glimpses and miracles in my life that God perfectly orchestrated for you guys to be here and for you to be a part of my life, for eternity. And we struggle so much with things on a day-to-day basis, and we